Got it. Yes.
Fine. Okay. All right. Uh, we are back with another Ask the Archer episode. It's been quite some time, and we have our guest Sami from Finland. Sami, thank you for taking the time to join me for this short interview and chat about yourself and archery in Finland and things that you do. How are you doing today?
Doing good. Happy to be here and thank you for having me. This is a
Good.
pleasure.
That's fine. That's fine. Um, we recently only connected on online or through Instagram or I think your YouTube channel as well.
YouTube, yes.
Yeah. Um, Tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into archery because I know you have a very interesting YouTube page. You do a lot of different types of archery, um, different disciplines. You try many things out on your YouTube page, which was quite interesting. Um, the main thing that was caught my interest was the uh the Mamluk style of shooting that you have tried out. You've done some videos upon that, but we'll get to that in a bit. But tell me a little bit about how you got into archery and your journey to archery as well.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it's true that my field of interest in scope of archery is quite versatile, but still there are some like main lines that I seem to have followed all my life. But yes, I get easily sidetracked and I got interested in many things easily, and archery is not an exception. But yeah, okay, so I'm a Finnish guy. I live in the Finnish countryside, and I also grew up as a countryside kid. Then I lived here and there, worked here and there, lived in different cities and different towns, and now for the past decade, I found myself back in countryside, and I'm very happy to do my archery stuff here because it's so easy. You just go outside and you can
Mm,
try
you
try
can
things
shoot, yeah,
freely and safely.
yeah.
And if we get to the uh, topic about how I got into archery, uh, maybe we have to start from the childhood for just a little while,
Sure, yeah.
because as a countryside kid, we used to make bows uh, out of juniper trees, most usually, at the age of 7, 8 or so. So quite early on, and it's nothing special. Little kids are often interested in bows, and the countryside kids in Finland, it's common that we make the bows of our own. So one might say that the archery has been part of my life from such a early on, and mm, as a curiosity, I was also big fan of Tarzan books. I was reading
Mm,
Tarzan books a lot. I read all of them because one of my teachers, school teachers, once showcased them to us and said that she liked them as a kid. So I wanted to see if I liked them too, and I liked them very lot. And Tarzan also uh, had a bow, a strong bow, and it was described in some of the books that how powerful it was and how accurate Tarzan could be. So my first
mm,
recreational archery stuff was to play Tarzan with my self-made bows
mm,
as a kid. And then I grew up, life came upon, things changed, and and I kind of like didn't continue archery as a teenager or so, but it was always on the back of my head.
mm,
And the turning point, I guess, to get really into the traditional archery for real and into the aesthetic archery specifically happened around 2000. I was then maybe 25 years old. And there was in the city that I was living, I found out quite randomly that there was this guy who had started a business of importing traditional bows
Mm,
and selling traditional archery equipment. And it was something that was completely unheard of for me, at least that time. And I went to see this person. He was actually a German immigrant, and he
mm,
was importing traditional bows mostly from the Middle Europe, Hungary also.
right.
And I went to see him, and I just got fascinated about all this like real archery, traditional archery equipment that I had never seen or handled
Mm.
before.
Was
And
they
I ended up buying
the sorry to interrupt, the type of
hmm,
bows he was importing, like Grosja bows, the Kashai bows, or
Rosa bows
Grosja bows? Yeah.
mostly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Thought
yeah.
so. Right.
So yeah, so I got my first bow, and it was a Grosser Hungarian model,
Mm,
and I bought it, and I was very happy with it. And then I started to look up on what was this instrument actually, how it was used, how it was made, searching up data from online. And
mm,
back then, the ATARN, the Asiatic Traditional Archery Research Network web
right.
page had already started. Now it's on Facebook mostly, but then was the first version of the website, and it was a great source of information.
Mm,
And I found out many things, and it kind of like exploded my mind about traditional archery, how versatile it can be, how the
sure.
different bows
Mm,
have been used and made, and so. And back then, I also found out that hey, there are some crazy people who are doing horseback archery still in these days with this kind of bows,
mm,
and it was I was gone then. And when I found out that the horseback archery was a thing in Hungary, Middle Europe. Also, I thought that okay, this is the sports I wanna get into at some point. But it took 2 decades, maybe,
mm,
at least 1 decade from that point on when I first was shooting a bow
right.
from the horse. But back then I started taking riding lessons to one day to be able to
Excellent.
have the
Excellent.
thing done.
Yeah. How developed or how popular is two things, traditional archery in Finland and the horseback archery, the mounted archery? Is it still very small and developing, or it's quite popular?
I would say it's now quite popular. It's still marginal, but it's growing sport, and people are people are quite cool with horseback archery in Finland. Those who have started to practice it for real. But back then, it was non-existent.
Mm.
Nobody did it, and I started taking riding classes with an idea in my mind that one day I'll be able to take the bow up on a horse. But it was something that you could mention it at the stables, but nobody would understand what you really would
Yeah, yeah, we
want to
have the
do.
same experience here. So in Finland now, is there any organization that kind of a governing body or something that manages horse archery in Finland, or it's still independent? Everyone has their own horse and does their own thing.
Yes, there is a main organization. It's called Finnish Mounted Archery Association, and I'm actually one of the official instructors of the organization.
Okay, great.
And then there are little or different clubs in different regions of Finland,
Mm,
but they are kind of like part of the main organizations. So
I
it's
see.
it's organized, and I think this has existed for a decade also. So it's
Okay.
as an organization, it's not a new thing, but
Mm,
has been going on for a while. But of course, it was small in the beginning, and I didn't even know about the
mm,
organization in the
mm.
beginning, and have just quite recently like found it out.
Yeah. Do they have any connections with international bodies like World Horse Archery Federation or IHAA, anything like that?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. There are people in Finnish Mounted Archery Association that are in contact with the IHA and the Horse
Wife.
Archery
Okay,
Association.
excellent.
So,
Okay,
so
good.
it's local, but it's global and it's connected.
Okay, that's good. Um, do you do any, do you have your own horse, by the way?
No, I never had a horse. At some point, I
Mm,
was dreaming of it or thinking about it, but I found myself too busy to properly
mm.
like maintain a horse
Manage a
or the
horse. Yeah,
stable. So
it takes a lot of time. It's not
it does.
everyone
Mm,
would like to imagine to have a horse, but you have to be there very early in the morning, feed the horse, clean every
mm.
day, and if you don't have that commitment, it's you know, it can be a bit of a problem. Um,
Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
absolutely. Um, have you done any competition for archery or horseback archery in Finland?
Both, but very little. I don't find myself like kind of competitive person.
Mm,
Uh, and if I like to compete, I compete with myself. But I've
yeah.
done some of these postal matches, you know, the remote
Mm,
competitions where you
yeah.
can do your stuff with your own horse at your own stables, and then they
Mm,
just gather up the scores from around the globe. And some traditional archery competitions also
yeah.
back in the day. But I kind of live in pretty much remote location. So I have a 100-kilometer drive to the nearest
Oh,
stables
wow.
where I
Okay.
can do the sport. So I think
Too
if
far.
it was more accessible to me, then I would probably do more of the competition part also. But I've never kind of felt like a big urge to go on that path.
Yeah.
And I like to experiment things differently on a
Yeah.
horse. So it's
Yeah.
more enjoyable for me, I guess.
Right. Um, you have your name. I don't know if it's a Finnish name, Ugri. Ugri?
Yeah, it's a YouTube name.
Ah, okay. What does it mean?
It's just a YouTube name. It's Ugri, and it comes from it's kind of like shortening of the word Ugric, which refers to linguistic family or related peoples. So there is a term called Finno-Ugric, which means like a bunch of people who are linguistically related. They are
Ah, okay.
Finno-Ugric people are, for example, Finns, Hungarians, Kandis, Mansis. So it's a
Mm,
wide group of peoples,
mm,
on a quite large area, and it kind of refers to my initial and uh, still going on idea of to feature archery traditions of my own ancestors and
mm.
also the relative peoples on the channel. So
I
the
see.
name comes from there. It's not like real Finnish first name or anything. It's
Ah,
a
okay.
ethnographical term.
I see. So it refers to the the background of or one type of Finnish people, but it also has a connection to archery. Is that correct?
Not specifically to archery, but there are these terms, of course, they are adapted to archery world also because there are you could call certain type of bows, you could call them Finno-Ugric bows, which
Mm,
means that this type of bows have been used with the peoples who belong in the Finno-Ugric linguistic family
I
or
see.
ethnic
I
family.
see.
So
And you just mentioned that there is some connection with Eastern European people, Hungarians and things like that. Is that
indeed,
is that so what do they share in terms of maybe type of language or culture or food or lifestyle? Is there any overlap there?
there's many things that overlap. Some words and lifestyle also, but also the type of bows. So
Mm,
the bows that have been used in Finland back in the day, they have been used uh, quite far in the east and western Siberia with the Kandis and Mansis. Also, the Hungarian bow type, it has some similarities to the Finno-Ugric Finnish bow design. The long tips and stuff like that.
I see.
So So and for me, the most interesting part about the related peoples is the how the bow design is
Mm,
similar, and it has influences from a wide range of area. I'm also
mm,
a bit of a language nerd, so I'm interested in language also. But the most interesting thing for me with the Ugric peoples is the bow design
mm.
and bow usage, and how it was. Of course, the many of the Finno-Ugric peoples have been are still living in the quite northern or Arctic regions. So the lifestyle back in the day, the ways of hunting and making your coming up with your daily meal also, or
Right.
maintaining resources, they have been similar also.
Yeah, so definitely archery was part of their lifestyle for hunting and survival. Tell me a little bit then about if we talk about making bows, I think you have quite a lot of experience with that. Um, what are the types of woods that you use in Finland? What wood is available? And what is your personal preference in terms of style of bow that you use?
Mhm. Yeah. The the most elegant bow design, the Finno bow design, or you can call it also North Eurasian bow type. It's a two-wood laminate bow. It's made of birch and pine
Mm,
and wrapped with birch bark. So that's the most elegant design. But bows have been also made from like a self bow from a single piece of wood, and you could use rowan, you could use spruce branch, you could use variety of woods. But
mm,
the main thing, the Finno-Ugric bow, it's made of birch and compression pine, which is
mm.
a special kind of pine. It adds some qualities to the wood that are can't be reached with the normal pine.
Yeah.
But the compression pine is a tree that has grown in this kind of a slant,
Mm,
so it forms a different kind of cellular structure, which is ultimate design for this bow type that
I
the
see. Yeah.
ancients invented. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they
So
are
it's very much like in the Far East where you have bamboo is a natural w wood that would grow there. In Finland,
yeah.
you have pine and birch again, which has a natural slight bend in the
Mhm.
in the shape.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it kind of it has this some sort of same thinking as with the composite bows with the horn and sinew, because the compression vine it's used on the belly side, and it's the
Mm.
kind of wood material that is gives the bow the strength like the horn gives, and it also can resist the bending a lot.
Yeah. Right.
But it's also a bit brittle in a sense, so it needs a birch bark layer on the backside.
The backside.
And
Right.
yeah, and it's put together with the fish glue, was put together with the fish glue traditionally, so it also needs to be wrapped with the birch bark, because the fish glue is really sensitive to moisture.
Mm.
And one interesting thing is that the ancient Finno-Ugric or North Eurasian bows, they have some similarities in the shape and looks to the Manchu bows.
Mm.
So the Asiatic influences are clear. It's debatable how it
Right.
actually went, but it's
Yeah.
clear.
Now the temperature is always something that will affect the bow in different climates in around the world. Um, am I wrong to think Finland is always cold, or in summer it gets very hot, for example? And how does this affect the performance of the bow?
Finland is hot in the summer and cold in the winter. We can
Okay.
have well, I don't know now with the climate crisis and stuff like that. The winters are not as cold as they used to be. But when I was a kid, we could have easily temperatures to minus 40 degrees,
Wow, very
and
cold.
in the summer it's 30 plus. It's normal. So
Mm,
it's quite quite big change. And of course, the both react and the wood reacts. But I haven't had a chance to uh, get myself a real proper two-wood
Mm.
Ugri bow, and I haven't had the skills to make myself one, so that I would be really happy with it. So I can't really say how it affects in these extremes, but because they have been used into winter and into summer alike, the design has had to work, or otherwise the bow design would have died along the history.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I just want to move on to your website, which is your YouTube site, sorry, which has a lot of really great videos. Um, for anyone who might go to his site, it's Ugri, um, Ugri Archer, Ugri, Ugri Archer. Some of the recent ones you've done is I'm just looking now, you're skiing and shooting as well, which looks a lot of fun. Um, shooting the aerial discs. You have a lot of videos about shooting on the move, running, jumping, very active stuff. These type of videos are things that you come up with, or is it based on, for example, some traditional manuscripts and you're trying to see if it works or how difficult it is to do?
it's both. Sometimes I just make things up, or I want to test my limits, or to see if some some feat can be done with the bow and
Mm,
arrow. But mostly they are based on the history, on the books, on the descriptions, or so. And the ancient Finns and the ancient Arctic peoples, they used to go with the skis when possible, and they
right.
used to use the bow also. So so with the ski archery, I have wanted to see how plausible it is to like shoot accurately,
Mm,
fast, and also like okay, it's recreational stuff from the history.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's the thing is that there are not many sources available from the Finnish ancient history.
Mm,
We have been in living in kind of a dark ages for so long. We
mm,
had our written language. It was invented only like 500 years ago or so. So their written sources are really rare,
yeah.
and of course you have to consider of the old descriptions and pictures how the things might have been. So it's a bit unfortunate that we have had a long archery tradition, but like in many countries, at some point it has broken off, and now we have to like try to figure things out from the bits and pieces.
Yeah, exactly.
But
This
most
is
of my
the
stuff is
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
it's
This is
based on
of very much the way, especially in the Islamic tradition, the way we see it, because we have up until the end of the Ottoman period, and then we have a break, and we lost many
mm,
manuscripts, we lost many people who had information,
yeah,
many people who had knowledge, and now we're just trying to put a few pieces together, try to recreate how things were, back
yeah,
then. Sorry, continue.
yeah. uh, I don't know, maybe it was basically that, but most of my stuff on the YouTube channel, it's based on the history, on the sources, on things that I try to put together from the different sources.
Yeah. Um, on that topic, tell me about, you did a video about Mamluk archery and Tabor's bow and things like that. How much research did you do into that? And is that a particular style that you like to shoot yourself, or you have a different preference when you shoot?
Yeah, the Saracen Archery, the classic book, it was a very influential to me when I first read it, and I actually am very happy to have a physical copy also
Oh,
because
fantastic.
it's yeah, stuff is available also online, but I like books, and whenever I can get a copy of an old book, I'll take my chance.
Yeah.
And yes, it was really influential book. One reason is that it has lots of information and good sections about horseback archery, but also it like yes, we know that it describes the feats that many people think that are impossible to do or extremely difficult or so. For example, this 3 arrows in 1.5 seconds. It's also a
Yes.
classic example. And I wanted to see myself if I can get close to that kind of shooting speed, or how it would have been done if one wants to try it. Because the Saracen Archery and the Taibukas manual, it doesn't give you exact instructions on how to hold the arrows or how
Yeah.
to do the knocking. It just tells like quite vaguely or briefly that you just keep the arrows between your fingers and
Yeah.
that's it. And you have to figure out yourself
Mm,
how it's actually done.
mm.
And in my case, because the book also has really good information about how the arrow should be for the to make like a perfect Mamluk
Yeah.
arrows. So I went ahead and I studied arrows from book and from other sources, and then I went ahead and ordered the kind of decent replicas from Kasper Giesek was his name. He has a company called Arrow Lab and can make
Oh,
beautiful arrows of various styles and
okay.
basically anything on demand. And I ordered arrows from him to be exactly or as close as possible as the Taibuka describes. And then
Mm.
I thought that if I have the arrows, I can find out how they fit in my
Right.
hand because
Where
the
is he
proportion
based?
Switzerland, but I'm not sure. But
Uh,
Central Europe.
his company is called
Kasper
Arrow Lab.
Arrow Lab, yes. Kasper Giesek is the name.
Casper.
I hope I pronounce it right.
What's his
Yeah.
surname?
Oh,
Casper what?
Giesek.
Oh.
G
Uh,
Iezek.
okay, fine. Arrow Lab. Okay. I never heard of it, so I'll have a look and see. That's interesting. Yeah.
Excellent. Should be found on Facebook at least, I think.
Fine, fine. Okay. Have you had any teachers? Are you a self-taught archer, meaning you've just looked online and read the books, or have you had any formal instruction from teachers for archery or horse archery?
For horse archery, I have some teaching from the professionals in Finland.
Mm,
And uh, back in the day, I was mostly learning from the books and from online, but also when I in the 2000 when I discovered the world of Asiatic archery, I started with the Mediterranean three finger style, and I was a big fan of Kasai back then
mm,
because he was of course a pioneer
of
of
course.
horseback archery, and I had email conversations with Kasai students, or one student specifically, who
Mm,
then started a school of his own, and I was kind of receiving instructions by email.
mm,
So like that, but mostly on my own online from the books, trial and error.
mm. Have you ever traveled abroad to do classes or to learn from anyone else, or you've just mainly stayed in Finland and developed your technique there?
Mainly stayed in Finland. I'm not much of a traveler, but I've been in contact with online with many people around the world. But
Mm,
not like I've never had a clinic outside Finland or
mm,
had an uh, instructor outside Finland. So it's my stuff is Finland based with the help of the modern technology.
sure. Who in Finland at the moment would you say is, I guess, leading the way for horse archery or traditional archery? Is there someone or a few people who are always competing and teaching a lot or doing it full time?
There are quite a few, actually. Mm, well, Mihai Kosmei lives in Finland. The name
Of
that,
course, Mihai, yeah.
yeah, you don't have to.
Is he very far from where you live?
Yeah, he is in southern Finland. Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
uh, several hundred kilometers.
Uh-huh.
But there are a bunch of horseback archers who do it like full time. There is Anna Minkkinen, Anni Jauhiainen, Katarina
Mm.
Kosme is also teaching a lot. So we have a fistful of people that do it kind of like full time, and
Okay.
then lots of people who do it not as regularly, but still are really active. And
Mm.
one name that I have to mention would be Marko Suhonen, who is the guy who kind of like brought the horseback archery to Finland and started the Finnish Horseback Archery Association.
Mm.
So he's, for me, he is kind of like Kasai of Finland, or the
Right.
grand old man who
Mm.
started the thing here.
Okay. So he
And
he's
he is
he's quite older now, is he?
no,
Oh,
I bet
okay.
could be a few years younger than me, but
Okay. All right. All right. But he started it
yeah,
early. He started it early.
yeah, yeah. 10 years ago also.
Okay. Okay, very good. Yeah, of course, many people know Mihai. He's been around the world, competed, done many clinics. You yourself, do you teach any clinics, and is archery full time for you, or you have another job?
I do keep clinics. I instruct and teach horseback archery and also just foot archery, which is a big understatement.
Mm,
Because okay, I have to say in here that I don't make a difference. Many people that are into horseback archery, they identify themselves as horse archers. For me,
mm,
horseback archery is just a side uh, track or one part of the scope of traditional archery. So I identify myself as a traditional archer, and horseback archer is just part of it. So
mm.
it's like many other ways of archery are equally important and dear to me. So I keep clinics and I give private lessons,
Mm.
uh, but I do this. Um, I have something going on monthly or so,
Okay.
but I don't have it as a full-time job, and I don't intend to even to go that direction. My main profession is with the computers and with computer game actually. So I'm a
Okay.
coder.
Coda, right. Okay. Interesting. In terms of different bow styles. You talked about Manchu bow, you have the Finnish bow. Um, what bow do you prefer to shoot yourself?
That's a tricky question because
Mm,
I like so many bows and I like many different designs, and there are bunch of archery styles that I practice very diligently, and it's really hard to say, but I guess if I had to pick one bow design that uh, has lasted for all these decades that I really like would be the Tatar bow.
mm,
That's
yeah.
something that fits to me, fits to my hand, fits to my style very nicely. But I have big love for the Manchu bows also. I don't know, maybe it's in my genes to love this kind of design.
Mm,
And also uh, the actual practice of the Japanese archery is
mm,
quite young thing for me. I've done it for maybe 4 years only, but from the very early on, I was also interested in Japanese archery. But the
mm.
chance to really start practicing it the way I do now, it came upon me just very recently, and that's a path that has now started, and I think it will continue for forever.
Okay.
I would say. So there is the Japanese archery. There are the big bows of the East, the
Mm.
Manchu bow, also the Finno-Ugric bow designs, and then there is the swift, nimble bows like Tatar bow
Mm.
that I like.
The the interest with the Japanese bow, is that also to do with the psychology of their archery, the breathing, the focus, the Zen, all of that stuff? Is that something also interests you?
Yes, it does. I've been interested in the philosophy of the Orients since I was a teenager, and of course, at some point, people get to read the book Zen and the Art of Archery, Rigel's book, and
Yeah.
that was also really influential. But um, um, I I kind of like and I kind of like wanted to start Kyudo at some
Mm.
point because there are a couple of Kyudo clubs in Finland, but they are also very far
Yeah.
from my location. And because of being also a horse archer, I also grew interest in the Japanese horseback archery, which leads us to the Yabusame and the
Mm.
samurai tradition.
Mm.
And rather than going to practice Kyudo, I wanted to seek something like more profound or uh, more traditional, and I ended up studying Japanese archery within the Ogasawara Ryu School, which is the one of the two old schools that are preserving for example, Japanese horseback archery, the Yabusame,
Yeah.
today. And in Japanese archery, I'm really fond of the fact that the tradition has lasted for a very long time. There are no
Mm.
breakdowns. So,
Yes.
for
They've
example,
they've
in
they've
Ogasawara,
they've really kept a continuous tradition, which is really good. Sammy, I'm gonna just
yeah,
pause here. We come to the 40-minute already. Time gone very quickly, and
yeah.
we're gonna come back again.
Excellent. Let's continue.
Thank you. All right. Thanks.